Beloved ones, be still for a moment, not because you must escape the world, but because the world has become very loud. And when the world becomes loud, the first thing humanity loses is not its freedom. It loses its ability to hear. There is a quiet movement taking place around you. You may not see it. You may not be able to name it. You may not even be certain that what you are feeling has a name. Yet something within you has already noticed. A subtle tension beneath ordinary life. A feeling that something is shifting. A sense that the old way of seeing the world no longer completely fits the reality you are experiencing. Perhaps you have felt it when you wake in the morning. Perhaps you have felt it when you look at the world and realize that things which once seemed certain no longer feel certain at all. Perhaps you have noticed that people are changing. Relationships are changing. Priorities are changing. Beliefs that once seemed immovable are suddenly being questioned. And some of you have asked, why does everything feel so intense? Listen carefully. You are not required to understand everything that is happening. You are not required to predict what comes next. And you are certainly not required to surrender your peace to every story that passes through your awareness. There is a greater wisdom available to you now. The wisdom of stillness. For humanity has entered a period in which the outer world will increasingly reflect what has been occurring within the collective consciousness. Old fears rise. Old divisions rise. Old structures of thought rise. And when these things rise to the surface, many will believe that the world itself is becoming darker. But there is another way to perceive what is happening. What if the darkness you are seeing is not necessarily something new? What if it is simply something that can no longer remain hidden? This is why we speak of the storm. But hear this carefully. The storm is not what you think it is. The storm is not merely an event. It is not one day. It is not one person. It is not one institution. It is not one moment in human history. The storm is a process through which humanity is being invited to see itself more clearly. And every process of awakening begins with a moment of discomfort, because you cannot release what you are unwilling to see. So do not fear the feeling that something is changing. Instead, observe it. Listen. Remain present. Because beneath the movement, there is a still point. And that still point has always been within you. There are 3 layers through which humanity has learned to experience reality. The first layer is what you see. The events, the images, the conversations, the headlines, the conflicts, the celebrations, the things that appear before your eyes and demand your attention. This is the surface. And the surface is loud. Very loud. But the surface is not the whole story. There is a second layer. The story you are given about what you see. The interpretation. The explanation. The meaning assigned to an event. 2 people can witness the same moment and walk away carrying 2 completely different realities. Why? Because they did not experience only the event. They experienced the story attached to the event. And humanity has become extremely skilled at confusing the story with reality itself. But there is a third layer. A deeper layer. One that cannot be reached simply by consuming more information. One that cannot be found by endlessly searching for another explanation. One that does not become clearer because you become more frightened. The third layer is perception itself. The consciousness that is looking. And this is where the great transformation begins. Because eventually you must ask yourself, who is watching? Who is interpreting? Who is deciding what is true? Who is deciding what is frightening? Who is deciding what is impossible? And who taught you to look at reality in the way that you do? This question is more important than it first appears. Because if you can influence what a human being fears, you can influence what that human being chooses. If you can influence what a human being believes is possible, you can influence what that human being attempts. And if you can keep humanity permanently distracted by the noise of the surface, humanity may never look deeply enough to discover the source of its own perception. This is why discernment will become increasingly important. Not belief, not disbelief. Discernment. You do not need to believe everything, and you do not need to reject everything. You are learning to stand between the two, to observe, to feel, to question, to listen, and then to choose consciously. Because the awakened mind is not the mind that believes everything, nor is it the mind that doubts everything. The awakened mind is the mind that can remain still enough to recognize what resonates with truth. And now we give you the first warning. It is simple, but it is not easy. Do not allow fear to become your interpreter. Fear will always tell you that you must react immediately. Fear says, "Look at this. Something terrible is happening. You must know what comes next. You must choose a side. You must fight. You must convince others. You must make them understand." But consciousness does not speak in this way. Consciousness does not need to shout. It does not need to threaten. It does not need to force. It observes. It understands. It waits until perception becomes clear. This is why there will be many voices speaking about awakening. Some will speak with great confidence. Some will claim to know exactly what is coming. Some will tell you that everything is about to change. Others will tell you that nothing is changing at all. And some will attempt to frighten you. Others will attempt to comfort you. But understand this, fear and false certainty can both become forms of manipulation. One says, "Be afraid." The other says, "Do not question me. I already know everything." Both remove something from you. Your discernment, your sovereignty, your ability to listen inwardly. So we ask you to do something different. When you hear something that creates fear within you, pause. Do not immediately reject it. Do not immediately believe it. Pause. Breathe. Return to the center. And ask, what is this asking me to become? Is it making you more conscious? More compassionate? More discerning? More responsible? More present? Or is it making you angry? Obsessed? Terrified? Dependent? Because the quality of a message can often be recognized by the state of consciousness it creates within you. This does not mean that truth will always feel comfortable. Truth can challenge you. Truth can dismantle illusions. Truth can ask you to change. But truth does not require that you surrender your inner sovereignty. Remember this. There will be many things you will not understand immediately. There will be events whose meaning becomes clear only later. There will be information that arrives in fragments. And there will be moments when you are tempted to demand certainty. Do not. You are entering a period where discernment will be more valuable than certainty. Because there is something humanity has not yet fully understood. The greatest manipulation does not always come from forcing people to believe something. Sometimes, it comes from keeping them so overwhelmed by information that they no longer know what to believe at all. And this is where the next layer begins. For a very long time, humanity has looked toward the sky and asked questions. Are we alone? What exists beyond our world? What is hidden from us? What has humanity forgotten? What lies beyond the visible? And perhaps one day many of the questions humanity has asked will receive answers.